That guy's people here. Today I gotta look at the Scharnhorst for you. It's the Tier 6 Premium German Battleship that just came out. And this is a Shards match domination mode. I'm gonna commentate over this one, and then I do have a bonus neighbors game. I believe it's capture the base mode that I'm not gonna commentate over. But if you want to see a couple games in this ship, I know a lot of people are asking me about how the ship plays, and they're trying to get a good look at it before they decide to buy it, because it is a fairly hefty price tag. Those Tier 6 premiums aren't cheap, but it's a very fun ship, so in terms of fun factor, I definitely recommend it if you're inclined to buy premiums at that price. And I personally find it to be a fairly effective ship. I've had a lot of, well, not a lot, I've had some people on the Discord say they're having success with it, some people saying they're having a hard time with it. So hopefully this will give you a little bit of an idea, at least how I'm playing it. I'm not going to comment on this guy. Let's just say we don't get along for the rest of the match because of what he's doing right now. He's pushing me into broadside. Not recommended. But who knows? Maybe he was having a seizure and he couldn't control his ship or something. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt. So anyway, the Scharnhorst is interesting. It's a battle cruiser, so it's more lightly armored, lower caliber guns. You know, these stats all take into account my builds. Again, I have Deutsche Dewey on this, but you know, in general, it's not as powerful as the other battleships in the game. So how do I accommodate for that? I'm having a lot of success shooting at upper hull into the superstructure. I've had a couple of really experienced and very good players on my Discord say that the ship is absolutely worthless at long range. I'm not personally finding that. It does have battleship dispersion, but it has cruiser-esque reloads, you know, longer than a cruiser, but definitely a lot shorter than your typical battleship. So even though you're not, you know, pinpoint accuracy like you are with a Norm Scott run Baltimore, for instance, you know, I don't think it's worthless long range. Now, you don't want to linger in long range because of the turtleback armor scheme that a number of ships have in the game. I believe the Omagi does, for instance. I'm not 100% sure, but at one point I've read that it does on the PC version, so I assume it does in this game, if what I read was true. But what a turtleback is, it basically protects the citadel from horizontal angled shots. So anything close range, she's going to have a really hard time penetrating your citadel. However, plunging fire through the deck, which is achievable at long ranges, it can penetrate the turtleback armor a lot more effectively. So I definitely went hang out long range because of that fact, but you know, it's sweet spot. You can have a lot of fun close range with this ship, as you'll see once we start using the torpedoes. And the secondaries, while they currently, for my build, are tied in terms of distance with all the ships except for the Colorado, which actually has a 6-kilometer range. The rest of the battleships on my builds have 5.3. But I didn't look that closely at the secondaries yet, but I think they tend to be pretty effective. So, you know, you can definitely, if you close in on like a one-on-one battleship fight with this thing, if you combine the fact that you have torpedoes with very effective secondaries, you usually are going to come out on top. But aside from close range, even medium into long range, that's kind of the sweet spot for the ship. It's a very versatile ship, in my opinion. You know, you can be effective in a lot of different cases against really all classes ships, so it's fun to play in that regard. I think it's effective to play in that regard. I've had a lot of what I would consider pretty good games in the ship today, but I don't know if it's necessarily the easiest, just because the gun calibers are really low compared to the rest of the battleships of this tier, so you're gonna have to play around with it a little bit probably to get used to what you want to be doing with it.
Problem solved, sir.
That said, the guns are very effective against cruisers, so that's what you're primarily looking out for, is broadside cruisers. Anytime you see those shots, you want to be taking them. And why the ship is, it's a lot of fun to play. I mean, it's got very quick reloads on the guns, very quick turret traverse for a battleship, so you're able to, you know, you're able to move around quite a bit in terms of how you're pointing your ship, and the guns are able to keep up. Or, you know, if you watch a lot of my battleship replays, I tend to want to keep firing off the same side of the gun or the boat for as long as possible, just so I don't have to deal with the rear turrets taking about a minute, you know, however long it is. Some of them are really bad to swing around. Now you'd always rather make the right decision, so you don't want to sacrifice making a correct play just to keep your guns pointed on one side. But it's just something to think about. You know, if possible, I'd rather turn the ship than have the gun swing all the way around. That's not the case in the Scharnhorst. These, you know, I'm comfortable with just playing mainly with the front guns, because swinging back and forth, and the rear guns will catch up soon enough. So, you know, I don't feel as inclined to try and maintain the same firing off the same side of the ship as I do in other battleships. Other things to know about the ship playing with it or against it, like the angle I'm at against this bozo right here, very effective at bouncing shots. It's got very strong frontal armor. If you're pointing broadsides of this thing, you can take a lot of damage in a short amount of time. Again, it's not as heavily armored as the other battleships, so you don't want to be misplaying it in terms of your armor angling. But it has very steep firing angles, so you don't have to open up your you don't have to open up your angle that you're presenting to the ship too wide and able to get all the guns pointing on the target. And again, because they're so rapidly firing the guns, it's alright if you're just firing the front two turrets. You'd rather keep a nice tight angle against a ship that can punish you like a Colorado, or you will see tier 7 ships, so, you know, Iowa, Moggy. Just a heads up for you guys that have been asking about the Vanguard, I did unlock it tonight. The rumors are true. It's not an easy ship to play. I'm going to try and upgrade it a little bit and see if it gets any better, but otherwise I'm going to have to do some hypothesizing on how to play that ship effectively, because what you guys have been telling me is absolutely correct. It's not very easy. But anyways, getting back to the Scharnhorst. Now, one of the keys I'm finding with this ship is you don't want to be too aggressive in how you push in. Like for domination mode, for instance, I've been fairly aggressive in supporting my destroyers off the bat, or even contesting caps right off the bat. You know, again, with the quick reloads, you're fairly effective at dealing with destroyers, even though you have battleship dispersion. But, and again, if you're angling your ship fairly well, you can angle it typically against opening positions, which tend to be clumped together in either groups of 3 or, you know, some different maps, maybe 4 or 5. But it's a lot easier to angle against the ships on the opening moves. So, you know, but the key is you don't want to push in too aggressively. Just because if you push too far forward, then you're opening yourself up to potential fire from multiple angles. And again, you don't want to be taking shots in the broadside. I'm not saying you're invincible if you're taking shots from the front, but you'll be taking minimal amount of damage from steep angles. Whereas, you know, once you open up those angles wider, that's when you start getting punished pretty heavily. So, you know, you can play it aggressively. You want to move forward in it. Again, you don't want to be hanging out in the back with this ship. It does have very good range. I think mine's right around 19. And Jay the Cat, who you might see commented on a lot of my videos, I think he was telling me his is up to 20 and a half, maybe 21, something like that. So it has very good range on the guns, but again, just because that's how you can easily get citadeled. You don't want to be hanging out there very long. But again, it's versatile. You can put the ship in a lot of different situations, having a lot of nice results with it. For instance, like let's say you're in a position where you are shooting long range, like if you have a position that you're not being spotted from when you're firing, you know, you can land some shots, and if you're hitting upper halls into the superstructure, you might see, you know, anywhere from 5 to 10k damage on those volleys. So that's Citadel-esque, you know, that's the equivalent. But because of the battleship dispersion, you're not going to reliably get those. Typically, you might be seeing 3, 4, 5k damage on those type of shots, which is fine because of the fast fire. You got to keep in mind these guns fire very quickly for a battleship. So if you're getting, you know, almost 2 salvos off for every one another battleship might get, if you're only doing half the damage that ship does per volley, well, you're doing essentially the same amount of damage. So keep that in mind. You definitely, if you're playing against a Scharnhorst, you don't want to just allow it to shoot at you, especially broadside like this. You know, the damage can rack up pretty quickly. So you need to respect the ship. Close range, you definitely need to be aware of what it does. If it swings side to side, you know, it has steep torpedo firing angles, so you know, it's probably 20 degrees that it has to open up its angle on one side, launch torpedoes, and then usually they'll swing around to the other side. So if you see this thing kind of fishtailing when it's coming at you, you need to assume that you have torpedoes coming in and take aggressively evasive maneuvers to avoid them. But the AP, you can see I'm trying to wait for the sky to be mostly broadside. I find that's more effective than the cruiser AP in terms of the angles it's penetrating. Maybe that's my imagination, but the cruiser AP, when they're not nearly fully broadside, you get a lot of shatters, a lot of bounces. Whereas this, you can have a little bit of a steeper angle pointed at you and still get some decent damage on it. So when you're playing the ship, I just recommend keeping an eye on the icons that are telling you what your shells are doing. Penetration, shatter, bounce, or overpen. And you're going to need to keep an eye on those and then kind of adjust where you're aiming on the ship to, you know, because it's going to vary what ship you're playing against and their armor and what angle they're at. But keep an eye on those icons and then adjust how you're aiming your shots based on the results you're getting. My overall impressions of the Scharnhorst, I really enjoy it. I think it's a very fun ship to play, and I find it to be actually very effective. So, would I recommend it? Yeah, if you're inclined to spend that kind of money on a premium, this is probably one that I would suggest playing. Again, because of the feedback that I'm getting on the Discord, it may or may not be the easiest ship to play, but I think once you kind of get the hang of what you need to be doing in terms of where you're aiming on the ships, then you'll probably have some more success if you're finding it to be a little bit difficult right off the bat. So that's it for that one. Like I said, I'd have this bonus game here. This was a pretty high score game in it, so I thought I'd give you guys an opportunity to check out an extra round in case you're kind of trying to make a decision on whether the ship is for you or not, or if you have it and you want to see how I'm playing it, or if you want to see how to play against it or what to expect when you're going up against it if you're not planning on buying the ship. So I'll let you kick back, relax, and enjoy. If you did like the video though, please hit the thumbs up. New to the channel, consider subscribing. I got a lot of World of Warships all the time. Questions for me, comments, leave them below, and I'll talk to you guys all later. Alright, peace.
All stations requesting fire on thoroughly damaged. I need help. Team has taken the lead. Much obliged. Affirmative. Set a smoke screen. Enemy battleship detected. Enemy cruiser sighted. I need support. Main turret critically damaged.
This is an example of that fishtail motion I was talking about last game, where you see we launched the torpedo at the right-hand side, very steep launch angles on these, and then we're swinging the ship around to the mirror position on the left. So anytime you see a Scharnhorst making this move, or for that matter the German cruisers typically have very steep launch angles and torpedo launches on both sides of the ship as well. So if you see them making this move, expect a second salvo, and if you're able to, try and take evasive maneuvers to avoid those. In terms of the game, I'm going to skip it forward a couple minutes here for you just to keep it a little bit shorter. I signaled to my team to capture B just so we don't run into problems with the score, and it's just a couple minutes of kind of dead sailing time, so I'll cut that out for you.
Torpedoes astern. Problem solved, sir. Concentrate fire on the designated target. Torpedoes astern. All stations requesting fire on the designated target. Fighter returning to ship.
Enemy cruiser foundered.
All stations, concentrate fire on the target. Teammate, I need your support.
Torpedoes, dead ahead.
Torpedoes
To port.
Torpedoes, dead ahead.
Enemy destroyer foundered.